The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNCNow.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community that sees all things new. I am Alpha Sanford and I'm streaming live from Boston, Massachusetts. Good evening, good morning, mabuhay. You are watching Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher, Season 1, Episode 5. Hello. Good morning, good evening. I know it's almost midnight in the Philippines right now and in other parts of Asia, but we're here. And if you are watching, please, you know the drill. Plug in your name, your location, where you are watching, and I'll be able to acknowledge and call out your name wherever you are because you are important to me. This next hour for today's episode is really about being remarkable. So while we are waiting for our guest, I'd love you to please plug in your name, your location, and if you can tag your favorite teacher, please tag them. And if you have friends who are teachers, educators, school principals, superintendents, tag them. Maybe this episode will speak to them and they'll be able to learn from our guest today. All right, let's see who are the people who are watching right now. Thank you for those who are watching from Tarlac. We really appreciate you. For our NY Camileño organization, thank you for being with us and for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Also, if you are celebrating your birthday this week, plug it in. All right, plug it in and see if I can say my birthday greetings to all of you. All right, I want to pause and I want to greet one of my beloved friends from Dorchester, Massachusetts. Her name is Tauli. Tauli Tzat, happy birthday. I hope that you are enjoying this week's and this month's birthday of yours. and I wish you all the blessings in the world. All right, let's get in here. Of course, my mom from Sacramento, California is watching every single episode. She is with me. So even though I am here in Massachusetts and they're there in Sacramento, she and my dad, who are both public school educators when they were in the Philippines, they tried to make sure that they also tune in. So, Mama and Papa, I know you are busy today. You are helping out my sister move in to their new house. Congratulations, Rachel and Randy. But you are with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to all your co-teachers from Camiling West Central Elementary School watching this show and the replay of this show, please, thank you. Tell everybody over there I said hello. Also to my former colleagues at Tarlac Agricultural University, my former college instructors who are now mostly deans. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for being with us today. All right, let's see. Okay. Anything else that we wanted to put right here or share? Okay. Probably folks in the Philippines are sleeping right now. I know it's 11:30. It's about midnight. But once you get a chance to watch the replay, know for a fact that every view that you provide here really will help anybody who will be watching this. All right. So keep on sharing, keep on liking, put your comments, tag your favorite teachers, tag your favorite teacher colleague because they are the new heroes of today. Without them, our future will not be bright. So, again, tag your friends who are teachers, who are school leaders, and let's get rolling. All right? Okay. We have Justin Pasqua from Vancouver, Canada. I think this is the first time that I have someone from Vancouver tune in. Hi, Justin Pasqua. Thanks for tuning in. And they're tagging DC Divad. So thank you. Thanks for tagging them. Please keep on tagging your teacher friends. All right. Okay. I think we're good for now in terms of our acknowledgement. This time, I would like to introduce you to I'd say, one of the people that I respect when it comes to school leadership. I've seen this person grow to who he is, and I'm very, very proud of his growth, his service to the public, and his passion. When I say passion, it's really burning passion. Passion to serve the kids, passion to serve the community, and really, he's just an overall fun guy to be with. In around 2010, 2011, I had the pleasure and the honor to work with him. And with his leadership, believe it or not, we were able to put the high school that we were teaching in, which was Randolph High School at the time, as one of the top 500 high schools in the US. At the time, our guest was the dean of the high school, and also at the time, he was the football coach. And at the time, I was one of the assistant principals. And we had a very, very good challenge, and we were on a mission. And our mission at the time was to really increase our graduation rates for our high school students and also lower or decrease the dropout rate for our students. So together, it was a multi, what do you call it? We have a lot of different teachers and staff members who are part of this team, of this committee, to really move our mission and vision for our school. And because of him and all the folks who were part of what we used to call core team, people, believe it or not, in about a year, we were able to put Randolph High School as one of the top 500 high schools in the US, as named by one of the US magazines here in the United States. Now, fast forward about what's now 10 years later, he is now going to bring us his energy, his passion of just being a remarkable person and a remarkable human being, and at the very least, being a remarkable high school principal. I say at least because I know he has more than being a school principal. He is bigger than life. All right. And I want you to feel it when he will be listening or when he will be sharing with you all about the strategies and tips of really becoming a remarkable human being. Without further much ado, the first Black principal of North Quincy High School here in Massachusetts. I'd love to welcome Mr. Keith Ford.
Well, thank
Mr.
you.
Keith Ford, how
Thank
are
you for that
you?
introduction. Thank you. I'm doing well. Doing well. Glad to be here. Thank you very much. That was
Thank
great.
you.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. I know you are a very busy person, but we want to hear and we want to learn from you. So, all right, Mr. Keith Ford, tell us, what have you been up to, especially since you became the high school principal of North Quincy High School?
Well, first off, thank you, Alpha, for allowing me to be a part of this show. This is great. This is wonderful. It's a great opportunity for me and my family, just to continue to get what we're trying to do out there across the globe. I think it's very important for all of us to really understand. You mentioned a little bit about passion,
Mhm.
and that for me is part of the main reasons, that energy, that motivational factor that brings me to the table in the first place. What I've been up to is really trying to get acclimated here in the city of Quincy. I was hired in late August for this position, which typically is a later start than most principals that are getting hired. Usually is a July 1 start. So getting hired late August, the ball is rolling, and we're trying to find ways to really, acclimate myself within the community. What does that mean? First and foremost is really getting in touch with our students in the community at North Quincy High School. Just really kind of get a feel of who they are. Who are our students at North Quincy? We are a diverse group of students here at North Quincy. We have over 60% of our students from Asian descent, followed by our white and Caucasian students and Black and Hispanic students at North Quincy. We have over 1,400 students in our building, so quite a few students to get to know. Getting to know my staff is important as well, and so just trying to formulate certain committees to involve them and certain decision making is something that's one of my top priorities. So getting them involved there is important. Getting parent involvement is key. So we have not only our monthly parent meetings, but I really have an open door policy. Thankfully, I have a lovely wife that's really understanding in what I'm trying to do for this year. So it has been quite a few later nights going into it to make sure that I have time to meet with parents, to meet with staff, and then meet members of the community, right? Like, how can you really, I still believe that it takes a village to raise a family. And so we really try to encourage our community involvement as well, because if we're asked to try to teach the whole child, then it's important to have an understanding, from not only a curriculum instruction perspective, a teaching and learning perspective, but also from a social and emotional perspective, and needing outside help within our community is important. So, those are the areas, and that's from my professional side. On a personal end, I'm still involved. I have three beautiful kids. One's 11-year-old Savannah, 8-year-old Harmony, and 5-year-old Jeremiah, who takes a lot of my time and, be involved in their extracurricular activities, sports, etc. And then I'm trying to be a great husband, right? So you're trying to be a great husband and father. So those are some of the things that we're making sure that we're being a part of, doing well. So it's been a busy time period for me thus far.
I can imagine. I mean, 1,400 students and
Yeah.
maybe a faculty of more than 100, maybe.
Yeah, we have about 130 faculty members altogether. So it's a big
Wow.
group. Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
group.
And then you've got three young, beautiful kids with all of the things that they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a busy, but I would say a purposeful life right there.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. So as I look back, Keith, 10 years ago, you and I had fun working together. And I really feel like you have shown us how to be a remarkable human being. And I respect you in terms of the many aspects of the things that you do, but particularly just being a remarkable human being. Tell us your take on how to become a remarkable human being, and maybe also if you can also share how to become a remarkable educator, because you and I started off as educators and then moving on to become school leaders. Take us in terms of how to become remarkable.
Well, first off, it's remarkable that you even called him that at this point, being a remarkable person. I definitely appreciate that. I really tend to try to live my life in such a way. First and foremost, I'll be remiss if I don't say trying to live my life honoring my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So for me, it's having a personal relationship with the Father, to allow him the opportunity to do what he called me to do. All right. And so, right now, I look at my position as principal, as an assignment, as a place that I've been called and asked to be in. And so, when you say how can you be remarkable, I think in some ways is realizing or having an understanding what is your role or purpose, right, on earth. Why are you here? And so for me, I recognize that it's really not about me, right? It's not about, my accomplishments and my achievements. Is what positions that I can be in to help serve others, to make sure that, I root for the underdog in all that I do, right? To make sure the underserved is being served. And so those are some of the things that I look forward to. And it has really gravitated me to a whole nother level when it comes to education. I did not have your traditional route when it comes to education, right? So my life story, my life background, you're talking to someone that for a number of reasons stayed back in first grade, right? And then, by the time it got to college, my first year in college, I ended up getting kicked out of college, right? Because mentally I just wasn't there, behaviorally I wasn't there. So from a statistical standpoint, it would seem that, my life was heading down a downward spiral, right?
Mhm, mhm,
But as you continue to persevere, and once I began to recognize and understand who I am, as a person, who God ordained me to be, right, and building that self confidence, and seeing that my abilities were worth something, I was able to move forward. We met together in Randolph, and yes, I was a dean, and you were assistant principal, and everything else. And for those that won't know, I actually started off as a security guard. So I was doing security at Randolph. And one of the things for me is, how do you become relevant? How do you become remarkable? is at some point you have to ask for it, right? You got to act as though you're already in the position before you get there. So one of the things as a security guard, right, that I was just kind of making sure kids went to class and everything else. I went to the principal one day and I said, "Hey, um, I know you have meetings that talk about kids. I didn't even know the name of the meetings at first, student support team, SST meetings, but I didn't know
Mhm.
at the time. And so I know that you talk to you have a meeting discussing kids and everything else, trigger out supports. I said, I see many of the kids in the hallway. Is it possible that I can just go into one of your meetings and just listen? That's all I wanted to do was just listen. Principal said, okay. And I went to one of those meetings, right?
Mhm.
Alpha, I don't know if you remember, but you were there starting to run some of those meetings during that time period. And we had like a little oval table that folks were sitting at, and I was actually in the back somewhere, just listening at that time. After a while, after maybe a couple of meetings that we've had, someone turned around and say, "Hey, Keith, what do you think about this particular student? I know he's in the hallway a lot. What do you think?" So I gave my opinion based on what I saw in the hallway and everything else. And then someone asked, "Hey," after a few times of that happening, someone said, "Hey, won't you move up and sit at the table with us?" So now it became, instead of just listening in the back and maybe commenting here and there, to being asked to move at the table. So again, when you talk about how do you become remarkable, is now how do you seize a moment or opportunity when it comes? Like you need to be ready when that moment comes for you to excel and be remarkable. If you function or act, I wore a shirt and tie every day as a security guard, right? I
I
didn't have to.
remember.
But that was my mindset was, if I wanted to become an administrator or education is my route, then I have to perform in that way from the beginning, right? I can't wait for somebody to give me the opportunity to be able to come that. I have to be that now. So in my mind, I was already an administrator, even though my title was security. And so, we're in the room, we're having these meetings. I'm at the table one day. I think Alpha, you had a meeting going on, and the principal at the time had a meeting. So he walked up to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be about 15 minutes late in the meeting. Keith, do you mind, at least starting the meeting?" Okay, I can start the meeting. So now I'm starting the meeting. The principal's going to be late. Miss Sanford's not going to be here during this time. Let's start the meeting. So we started the meeting. That happened a couple times. Then it went to, "Hey, you know what, Keith? I'm not going to be able to go to the meeting. You and Alpha run the meeting." Okay. So now, you and I are running these meetings, right? Going from there, right? So now we're both running it. And then it got to the point where you're being called for other things going on. And it's, "Keith, I want you running the meeting, right?"
Yeah.
So, and this is all as a security guard changed, right? And the title, someone left, opportunities arose, and I became the dean. I was a dean. With that we put in just one line on my contract that I will be able to observe teachers, right? So elective teachers. So I was able to observe, right? Not really having that much experience in the classroom, but because being in leadership, you mentioned in coaching and other areas, I knew what to look for in the classroom. I knew what a well-structured lesson looked like, right? I knew for differentiation what that looked like, meeting diverse needs, what that looked like, right? So I
Mhm.
understood that aspect of things. So we did that. Finally, all that to say, an opportunity arose for me to be an assistant principal at another high school. I did that for 5 years, and now I'm a principal at a high school. So the question of how do you be remarkable and relevant, and how do you do that moving forward? It's understanding a couple things, like I mentioned. One, understand that your role and everything that you do, you're on an assignment, right? That it's not just about you. It's how do you serve other people. Being true to you is important. If you're a believer like I am, believing that, God has orchestrated a path for you is important as well. But that you're on an assignment, and that you need to seize a moment when it comes. When it comes, that's where you need to be. right? You have to be able to take that time and take it for what it, because you never know what that moment in time will do for you moving forward. So, we'll go on to talk more about this later on, but I wanted to open up with those two aspects.
Oh my gosh, Keith. When I was listening to you, it just brought me back to the times that we were in that long table. And it's amazing the work that you've done, we've done together as a team. 10 years later, it's still the same structure.
Mm,
So, but little did I know that you actually started like at the back of the table.
mhm,
And little by little, because of your understanding that you are there to serve more than your role, that you are bigger than who you are at the time,
mhm,
you were able to be in the front row. And I did remember, actually, this is in part of the book that I am revising and editing it now. And in that book, under being remarkable, I did put, and I did remember, Keith, you had mentioned to me, Alpha, if you wanted to be there, if you wanted to be with them, you got to be in the same room as them.
mhm.
And I
Yes.
and that stuck with me. You remember that?
I remember being told to me, it was actually somebody else that worked at Randolph that had a conversation that we talked about that. And it's really about you have to be in the room.
Mhm.
That is my motto. You got to be in the room. And what that room is, like whether you're in education and you're in administration, when they're making decisions, you're in that room. If we're the CEO of a company and they're having their board meetings, right, you got to be in the room because those are when decisions are being made. So whatever field that you're in, right, the goal is figuring out a way, how can I get in the room? And so for me as a security person, right, I
Mhm.
can either be in that role and wait for a decision to be made in the room. Folks come out and tell me, okay, Keith, this is what you need to do. Or I could find my way to be in the room to help make that decision to kind of move forward. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Like being in the room, right, is so important on figuring out how can, because that's what it's all about. When it comes to education, it's about the policies and the procedures in place that we need to make decisions on. And you want to be the one that makes those decisions, right? So we got to figure out a way how to be in the room, which may cost time, right? Like it's going to cost you something to get into the room, right? And that's one thing that what I find at times, you know, for me personally, I didn't grow up with educators, right? So I didn't have educators in my family. I don't have as far as a networking perspective, the number of folks that I can say, hey, they knew me from this particular position or whatever to get me a job here and there. In some ways, I had to fend for myself. So I had to work all the
Mhm.
way through on that. And I'm sure many folks are feeling that same way too. So that means in order, because you have to work to get to a certain level, that means the hours and time that you may have to put in order to get that position, yes, it's going to cost you, right?
Mhm.
It's going to be, at times it could be painful, it could be time consuming, it could be exhausting. And at the same time, if you believe in what you do, you'll see the fruit on the other end. So being in the room is important.
That's amazing, Keith. Really amazing. Thank you. I feel like, and I just want to plug for anybody else who will be watching this on replay or anybody else right now who's watching and they feel uh, like they don't have the voice in the room. If they are starting out, I feel like this is what they need to hear. That they would have a voice. And you said it, Keith. You said, act as though you are already there. And whatever position that you want, act as if you're already there. And I
Mhm.
do remember every single day you would go to work with the ties and really put together, and you're really feeling it. And we felt it. We felt it, which was amazing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really amazing.
That part is important, right?
Mhm.
Because what you may go through, that times when it became frustrating is that you may have certain people that just see the role and see the position. And so, it will take some resilience. It will take some patience, right? Because people only see the exterior, right? They don't see
Mhm.
your drive. They don't see your intellect. They don't see your passion, to a certain extent, right? And so they don't know what it takes for you to even be in that position, right? They don't know that. All they know is, oh, you're the security. It's funny, like being a principal now. It's now I'm on the other end.
Yes.
So because of my role as principal, there's certain things that I can say like automatically that I'm used to folks either challenging or arguing or not even just like have their own opinion on. And it's like I get more of, well, you're the principal, right? And I gotta I gotta reel them in to say, no, 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 like I want to hear your opinion. Like your opinion matters now. But back then when I was a security guard and I had those same type of opinions, it was just like, well, you're just security and you kind of go away with it, right? So now my opinion means everything, but before it meant nothing. And I didn't change it all. It's my role changed, right? And so then you have some people that may see the role, but they don't know who you are. And that's the part that you got to continue to be persistent on and plug along and persevere in those moments because you see yourself in the way of, okay, I am a leader. And again, when those opportunities present itself, you got to go through with it, right? You got to be able to go through. One thing I think that was important in the preparation. So I tell you a little bit about how I actually became an assistant principal. So I
Okay.
was a dean of students
Hmm.
at Randolph High School. I was a head football coach, and quite frankly, things were good. We had a great team as far as the
Hmm.
team. We were moving the needle forward with our students. I was the head football coach. We had our first winning season in like 20 years. We had a couple of kids that were being that received full scholarships. So we had signing days. So things were good. I really wasn't even looking to move. And but something said, just put your resume together. Just let's revamp your resume, like just have it on file, this, that, and the other. I wasn't really looking for anything, but just put it together. So it was an opportunity. The Marines have what they call an educators workshop. And what they do is they send educators down to Paris Island in South Carolina to spend about 4 or 5 days, like you see in the life of what it's like to be a Marine. They
Hmm.
pay for you to fly down there. You have hotel, food, everything's arranged. You get to go on the base, see the drills, all that stuff as a Marine, to really help kind of promote military.
Hmm.
And so I went on this trip. And again, like most educators, when you go on the workshops and things like that, there's some time when you're on and you're learning, and then there's some downtime. I'll put it like that.
Right.
Right? Some
Yes.
time as an educator in these workshops, we understand we're going away for a few days. There's some time to kind of like let your hair down and have a good time.
Uh-huh.
So we did that, and really no issue at all. And at the end, one of the folks from one of the schools, as we were flying back, was like, "Hey, I think we're looking for an assistant principal." Now, we didn't talk about nothing to really do with, education, curriculum and instruction, nothing. We went down there, really just had a good time.
Uh-huh.
But that networking opportunity became available. They were already in the process. They went through the screening process for the resumes. So they were starting the interviews. And so he asked me if I might be interested. And I said, yeah. And he was like, hey, do you have a resume ready like today? Because, they already started the process. Well, yeah, like my resume was already ready. So I forwarded to them right away. And I got a call for the interview process right then and there. Right. So again, it's how do you become a remarkable? It goes back to being ready to be trained,
Mm.
right? Like you got to be prepared for this thing, right? Because the worst thing could happen is hey, you know what, man? I don't have a resume ready. Can you give me a couple of days? This, that, and the other. And it's like, like like that. They could have moved on from there, right? But because I
Yeah.
was ready, and because the resume was on file, like all I had to do was just send it to them right away. That opened the door for them. It seemed like, okay, maybe he's really ready for the position because he has his resume ready. And then for me, that again, a door and an opportunity was there. So, if anything, any takeaways is being remarkable that you're on assignment, and again, being prepared is something I think is important.
That's great, Keith. And especially for newer teachers right now who are really trying to find their way around, what I'm trying to get here is that they gotta be ready because when the opportunity comes, they gotta seize it. And what I also heard is that really the power of like networking, right? And it's almost like a streak of luck right here.
Mhm.
You were in a professional development sort of like workshop, and then all of a sudden, because of the human connection and the network that's presented to you, it's right there. It's almost
Mhm.
like magic that it happened, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And that networking piece is important, not just the networking in itself, but they were able to see a part of me that was unscripted. They were able to see
Mm,
me of exactly who I am. Because again, you
mhm.
got to realize in some ways there's probably 1,000 resumes that's being thrown out there, right? So
Really?
everybody, has the credentials, and on paper, I'm sure there might have been other candidates that had, you know, accomplishments, experiences, well beyond what I had. But because you built those relationships, right? And because, they were able to see who I am as a person, right? That's something that you can't put on a resume, right? They have to
Hmm.
just see it. And
Hmm.
so, going to the whether it's workshops or my everyday, I tell people all the time, whether I'm principal, I was security, coaching football, things like that. This is who I am, right? There's no I'm very transparent, right? Like folks know exactly who I am as an individual. And so, and I tell folks you can take it or leave it, right? So this
Hmm.
is either you enjoy the type of person I am or you don't. And so I think from that end, folks are because at times I notice that, if there's some gaps, if there's some what you might deem as flaws, if there's areas that you feel aren't, perfect, folks at times seem to try to hide that, right? They
Hmm.
try to make sure that, you see the best of me all the time. I'm the type person, yes, I strive in excellence. I strive in being organized. I strive in making sure that we do things the right way. And I recognize that there are areas that I'm flawed in, or there are areas that, I need to grow in. And I can admit that. And I can say, hey, this is the area that I need to grow in, right? And building a team around you that can help you grow in those particular areas. That's why our team works so well, by the way. Alpha is like,
Hmm.
we're totally two different people, but like we really balance each other out on our strengths, and that's why it works so well. Um, I think being transparent on the great qualities that you have in the areas of struggle, to a certain extent is important, right? And that when folks see that, right, they can be transparent with you, and it will help you grow in the process. So
That's right. Before we break, Keith, I want to hear from you and share your thoughts in terms of what does being remarkable truly mean to you?
yes, so I think in some ways, being remarkable to me is first and foremost kind of being resilient, right? Like
Hmm.
being able to persevere, because in life is not if something happens in your life, right?
Hmm.
It's not if, it's
Hmm.
when.
Yes,
When things happen, how do you handle it, right? The way you handle things helps you to be remarkable, right? Like how, it's a because in some ways, like when I tell folks that I'm a principal of a high school now, many people are like, oh my goodness, like, Keith, I saw your journey. Like, Keith, I know you. Like, I know the triumphs and the tribulations that have happened in your life. So for you to be in this position is truly remarkable. And they're saying that because my perseverance through those times that they can reference to as possible low points in a life, right? It's not remarkable or not surprising for some that, and I don't even know if remarkable is the right word, for folks that did not go through anything or something was inherited, that they received an inheritance to be at a particular position.
That's right.
It doesn't become remarkable then. It's like, yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen. That was expected. It's almost expected. Right?
Exactly.
Like it's not remarkable. It's expected. Like, yeah, okay.
Right.
The remarkable piece is to persevere, right? The remarkable piece is to go through a trial and tribulation at a hard time and be able to make your way through that, right? That's the part that's remarkable. Being kind to others. Like I said, I live a life personally that it's not about me, right? I even had a saying for the football team back one of the years is it's all about us, right? It's all about us, right?
Yeah.
It's us and we. There's no I in team, right? That type of deal, right? Those are the things that are important. That is about us. From a practical standpoint, how to be remarkable. I actually coached swimming for a couple of years.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I coached swimming at one of the schools in Mass, Cambridge, Region Latin. I coached swimming.
Okay.
And one of the things that I liked about the swimming was when you go to a pool, most pools that you go to, when you go on a block and you're about to get in the water, they have a record board that's right like on the wall right there, right? So if you're swimming, 50 meter freestyle or whatever else, somebody's on the record board. So as I was coaching, the last thing I would yell to the swimmer before they get in the water is get on the board. Meaning, if that's the record, that's the goal. Like you want to break that record so your name is on that board, right? So get on the board will be the last thing. So how do you become remarkable? It's having a goal that is plain to see. So every swimmer, before they get in the water, they can see the goal right there in front of them, right? So for you and I to have your goal written down in a place that you can see it often, the challenge for you, I would say, is get on the board, right? Find a way to get on the board.
Woo, that's good.
Yeah, we got one more. I'm sure you have some boxing fans in here, right?
With Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao, right?
Let's go.
Manny Pacquiao, right? Manny Pacquiao. And he had one of those fights, he had a fight against that he ended up losing. He should fight him again, right? And that's Floyd Mayweather. And so what Manny's team, like usually most every boxer, right, has a team around them, right? Many folks know the name of, and the only reason why I'm bringing Floyd's name up is because everybody knows the name of his team is called Money Team, his money team, his team that's with him all the time.
Correct.
Right? So, and Manny has his team as well. And that team, the job of that team is when Manny's preparing for a fight, when he's in there fighting, that team around him, all they're doing is telling him how great he is. He's the best in the world. Hey, you can't be beat. Hey, you're the best. He has a trainer that's saying, hey, you're about to fight against whoever. Hey, you watch out. He got a hard left hook, right? He can, his jab is crazy, right? He's out that. So the trainer, right, is there to help him go through, okay, what are the hurdles and obstacles that you have to foresee going against your opponent to reach a goal, right? So a boxer has their team of folks. You have the ones that's encouraging every single day. Hey, this is you trying to get better, finding a way, like, hey, this is how you could be great. You're the best. You're number one. And then you have your trainer that's there to say, hey, here are I know you want to beat this person, right? Here is the team that you go from there. So I tell my students all the time to have a money team, right? Because they can reference that to a certain extent. But my point is, make sure in how do you be remarkable is that you have a team around you that's able to support what those goals are, that's able to encourage you, while you're trying to achieve those goals, and that you have that trainer, right? That you have that place in which someone can be able to help you dodge and move, right, when obstacles come your way. So make sure you get on the board, right, and that you have the appropriate team to help you move forward.
Wonderful. And with that, Mr. Keith Ford, I want to take a break and I want our viewers to reflect on what you had mentioned. All right. So, folks, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to hear from Mr. Keith Ford, probably some other quotes or maybe books that he has read that he can share to all of us. All right. We'll see you in a bit. TNC is a live stream platform of online shows for people on the go. Please watch all our shows as seen on the screen. Imagine having your own show, your own playlist, your own content, but we make it easier for you. TNC aims to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our vision is to become a global 24/7 live stream channel that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. Please continue to support and watch Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher on most Saturdays, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the Philippines, because of the daylight savings time, it is now 11:30 p.m. Philippines time. So please continue to watch and support us live here on Facebook or on replay via Facebook or YouTube. You can also follow us on IG. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search for hashtag TNC Now. All right, folks. So we are back. We left off with a lot of like great wisdom from Mr. Keith Ford. I love his inspiring story. And even if he and I worked together at least 10 years ago, I feel like, oh my gosh, his passion and his tips and strategies on how to become a remarkable human being is amazing. And I hope you are taking down notes because I also took down notes for myself. I love the fact that when he said, have a goal, right? Have a goal and see that goal right on the scoreboard. All right, so why don't we bring him back in here and let's ask Mr. Keith Ford a particular quote that he may have for us or a book that he may have read that maybe has inspired him. Okay. And especially that the holidays are coming. Maybe this is something that we could give as gifts or, buy it for ourselves to continue our growth. So, Mr. Keith Ford, let's bring you back in here. All right.
Yes. No, it was great. These moments in time. It's funny. It was asked before a great book. There's a lot of like great books out there, obviously. But one I actually, when we talked about being remarkable and being resilient, I think the book that I just finished reading, a friend of mine had me read, had to do with more of someone's personal life journey and again being remarkable in their own right and being resilient, right, is something that I found in this particular book. This book, from a lot of ways, it was an inspiration because it had to do with determination and it was inspiring, right? It was inspiring from the standpoint where someone started out in his journey trying to find his way, trying to figure out how he's going to go through life. So early on in his life, he had to persevere his own obstacles through his family, and figure out what works best for him. And then it went on to not only did he persevere through obstacles that came his way, but he began to challenge himself to get out of his own comfort zone in order to achieve at a high level. Me being from New Haven, Connecticut, being, having my story a little bit that, right. For me, it's really finding ways to, okay, how can you continue to move forward, that you never settle on a particular area, no matter what the accomplishment is, that you never settle. So the book is called Can't Hurt Me. Is by a gentleman named David Goggins. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's an ultra marathon runner at this time. But the book Can't Hurt Me. He's a motivational speaker at this point as well. But that's something that I read. I just finished recently. But it really is, someone that, was able to take on those challenges, that actually embrace some of those challenges kind of moving forward, is something that I endure, that I strive to achieve, whether it's in the courageous conversations that I have with folks, that again, it takes me, out of a comfort zone, right? Like to have a courageous conversation, to have conversation with someone about a topic that's uncomfortable, right? To be able to plug along and persevere is important there. And then again, it's not if, but when life happens, to be able to overcome and achieve that are things that are important there. So, it really helped me to understand when I talked about building a team, making sure that you have that, having the understanding the goals that you have, and then my life journey as being on an assignment to help others. I mean, all that is encapsulated in that book.
Amazing. So, as a principal, Mr. Ford, any last word that you can share with us, especially to our teachers who may be thinking about becoming a school leader or becoming a principal someday? Any last word to them?
I think if that's the route, becoming a school leader, right? It's really functioning with that mindset now, right? So being the leader of your classroom, something that you already done, I would say be actively involved and engaged in, whatever committees that are around, being able to, say to your principal, hey, am I able to listen in, right? You start off with that. Am I able to join and listen in to certain meetings? I understand confidentiality, but I'm aspiring to become this particular, school leader, and really take those opportunities when they come. Being ready, being prepared, just so making sure that, okay, if you want to move forward as a school leader, that you need to be prepared for it because nothing's going to be given to you. You're going to have to earn it. Right. And so, that your preparedness is important, when we think about those things. So really, I think, I'm a walking testimony that things can be done, like that the conventional way isn't the only way. And that, when those opportunities arise, to be able to seize those moments.
I love it. I love it. And where can our audience find you and learn more about you, Mr. Ford? And if they have further questions regarding your journey, or if they've been inspired by your words, where can they find you?
I'll give you 3 platforms. First, I'll give you my email. All right. So
Right.
I'm always great on email. So Keith Ford at QuincyPublicSchools.com.
QuincyPublicSchools.com. Thank you
Yep.
for that.
And the second one, okay, is on Twitter. All right. So that's NQ Principal Ford on Twitter.
All right.
And on
Principal Ford.
Yep. And on Instagram is NQHS Principal Ford.
All right. I'm putting that in so that anyone who is inspired by this wonderful conversation with you, they'll be able to get in touch with you. It's right there, folks. Keith Ford at QuincyPublicSchools.com, and Twitter, NQ Principal Ford, and Instagram, NQHS Principal Ford. We got it all, Mr. Keith Ford? Did we get it
Yes.
all?
Yeah, this is great.
All right. Okay. I have a lot of takeaways from this wonderful conversation, Keith, and I want to thank you for sharing your journey, sharing some of the strategies of really becoming not just a remarkable principal, but truly a remarkable human being. You've summarized it very well. Be seen. I love how you actually said understand that you are bigger than your current role. You are bigger than your assignment. And I cannot wait to actually go and read the book that you had mentioned, Can't Hurt. Especially how many days now before the holidays? Is it 42? I think it's 42, right? So, folks, if you're going to get something for your educators and school leaders, perhaps try to get that book that Mr. Keith Ford had mentioned, which is the Can't Hurt by, is it David
Goggins? Yep.
Dragons. All right. So, all right, Keith, it's been a pleasure hour talking with you. I wish you all the best in your journey, continuing to be the remarkable school principal that you are. And maybe, who knows, we will see you in bigger, better roles so that you can continue to serve the people, serve the children for the future generation. So, from the bottom of my heart and the TNC show, thank you.
Well, thank you as well. Thank you, Alpha. Thank you, TNC. Thank you, everyone that listened today. Be a part of this and reach out, please, if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. And to those our viewers, we'll see you again next Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And continue to support us, like TNC, share this, and I hope today's wonderful session with Mr. Keith Ford, it has inspired you to really go for your dreams. And if it's right there, you gotta be ready. Seize the moment. And the best thing is, continue to be you. All right, folks, this is Alpha Sanford signing off for this week, and I will see you again next Saturday. Thank you, and God bless you all.